Good morning, everyone. So, no follow through so far. Where's the gap? Decent sized gap. Into that bar is open. We still got almost 30 minutes to go. So, the question is this a breakdown failure, a failed continuation pattern, which starts a bottoming process? You can see on the weekly chart we've been talking about this greater than 100% retracement. And that's typically followed by at least a slowing in momentum and an attempt at a counter trend rally on the daily time frame. We'll see how today progresses. Oh, charts jam. It was good doing that for a while, not forgetting that. Thank you, Jacob. All right, there we go. So I got SPY up here, and you can see the rally that's been pushing prices up here, up to this little resistance area up there. And you might see my cursor on the daily chart where it's gapping to. So I like to look at that every morning. We look at gaps, of course, and how much it gaps, meaning, sometimes they gap right to the top of a bar or over the top of the bar. And so when we see that, we want to take note of it because that would be a powerful change from what was. And we've got, see, a gap up to the open. And 25 minutes to go. We'll see if it's there. Maybe it's higher. Maybe it's back at the low. Be aware 10 o'clock is the ISM data, which certainly could drive it whale back down again or back up. So as we always do, we look at what is. We look at the open. We see what's happening. And, throughout the trading day, we assess, does it actually close this way? So this is an initial bullish gap up. Now, this breakdown is occurring after 4 or so days, give or take, right? 4 or 5 days going sideways. Typically, a continuation pattern like that is reliable. My skepticism about it last week on Friday and over the weekend, somewhat skepticism, was that this has been going down, since this point here, down. That was your typical initial rally, and this was your continuation pattern. And now we get another one after a greater than 100% retracement. It's less reliable. It doesn't mean it cannot work. And there's lots of news this week, as well as different Fed speakers, I think almost every day, sometimes twice a day, which is kind of crazy. They obviously want to get their message out. And let's see if they come with a unified message or whatever that's going to be, which until otherwise, I think they've been communicating another 75 basis points. And so I back off from that. And I would assume the market would try to rally, or vice versa, a little more aggressive, and down we go. So, greater than 100% retracement concept is very, very reliable, but it doesn't tell us, right? Doesn't tell us whether it's going to stop immediately or whether, it goes another bar down and then turns. So when we see that, and of course, we have to see a pattern. So here it was initially my monitors, this thing, they flicker. This initial turn certainly looked like it could go higher, right? No reason to have doubted it at the time. There was more news coming out, of course, but it never traded above that bar's high, so no harm done. And then down it went again, and why we call it a continuation pattern. So now can it, my monitors, I think something happening with this restream thing, flipping it, if it flips right back up again. So if it holds on to the gain, we have a green bar at the end of the day that's closing up in this area. We're going to read that as a breakdown failure and the beginning of a turn. And then at that point, of course, credit spreads, put spreads. You got until the end of the week for expirations, but that should set up a low. There's more speakers coming out, more news coming out during the week. So again, as always, we'll see how that plays out. All right, just taking a look at the futures, and then we'll get to SPX, and lower high, lower low bars. So far, it's retracing, a decent amount, a little more than 50% into that bar. It's a long way from being done. And believe that news at 10 o'clock, if it's bearish, could drive this right back down again. All right, SPX. All right. So we can go all the way close down to 3,500, 3,515, 3,520. Nasty news. I suppose that is a possibility, but 3,500 is going to be a big level, whole number, and there's a decent open interest there and put options. Yeah, 35 and a quarter, Jacob. Let's see. Let's see what happens at 10 o'clock. I think based on that ISM news, it's going to require waiting until after that to assess what happens. And on the upside, $3,700. That would be significant to get back above 3,700. In any event, that's a level to consider. I will wait until after 10 o'clock, and if it's missed, it's missed. But that is a market mover. If it comes out at 50 or below, I think the market tanks. Yeah, 3,710. Yeah, I guess you could, for a little bit up there. All right, other markets. Not as big a retracement, but it has been weaker. You see it's a similar pattern the days and then the breakdown. It's got room to go up. So we've got this void here, and it's cleared these pivot highs. And for those that aren't aware or haven't been with us for a while, how we look at things, if you haven't been to some of our empty lives where we talk about voids and all of that, I'm going to show you, like, you might look at all of this, and for me, it's irrelevant. What's relevant is this right here. And you can see this pivot is aligned with that one, which is right. This little thing here. These little overlapping bars right there. So now, on the way up here, these bars overlapping, there's going to be some resistance, but look, this came straight down, which has created this void. So there is the potential for this to continue to move up. 3665 is gamma stall area for SPX. Let me look at that. I love these words that they use with options. The option traders, they love brain damage. 3665. It's the top of yesterday's bar, Friday's bar. Look, there's a pivot there. It always lines up with price resistance. Anyway, and that's what we always look for, confluence, right? Whether I'm looking at a moving average and a price pivot, or different concepts, if they line up with each other, they have a higher tendency to be more reliable. So you can see 3665 is right there at that pivot. Exactly, Stephen. Makes you feel smart. But you know what? It just, for those that don't know the words, that's why I call it brain damage. Everything with the stock market is a hurdle to understand, whether you're talking black cloud covers and black crows, or whether it's a gamma thing. Everything is a struggle to understand, the lingo and different things. And yeah, it takes time. Takes time to absorb that and get it down to something that is more common sense. You're reminding me of something of about 20 years ago. I used to do these trader expos, and there was a guy speaking at the time. He's no longer around, but someone asked me, "What do you think about what he's saying there?" Right, whatever he was talking about. I said, "Look, if you can confuse people in a situation like this, it could be impressive." And you get people to pay attention, related in the stock market, because we all come to the markets thinking it's a mystery, which it is, because we don't grow up, involved in the markets. So we're searching for the truth, and you start hearing all of this stuff about Elliott waves, and whether it's gamma and Gann lines and stochastics, and it's like, try and figure that all out. It'll probably take you a couple of years, but the bottom line, as I say, just look to the left, man. Is there support and resistance going up, down, or sideways? And then, I'm oversimplifying, but that's really what it comes down to: support, resistance, and trends and patterns. And that's a learning process in itself. But all that complicated stuff, Elliott waves and waves and waves, throw that stuff out the window, man. All right, so enough of that. Void, so far strong. It's leading its way up into, maybe it keeps going up at the open into 10 o'clock. So whatever the reaction is going to be, it could somewhat be muted. All right. YM getting nicely up into that bar, setting up potential for a breakdown failure. We'll see where it is at the end of the day. Nice. Making a bottom here. Nice compared to what? Waterfall down? Yeah. It's stabilizing here where it's supposed to. It's in an area of support, and we'll see how this plays out. That's what we do. Right, Bitcoin, just still flip-flopping around here. Markets are waiting for what? More news, more certainty, more patterns to form, I suppose so. Whether, this is, kind of, like I said last week, sitting on the edge of the cliff. And participants want to see, we don't want to, hey, this market is beginning to hold up, and then this market looks like it's ready to crater. Yeah. Silver is strong again. I don't know what's going on with silver, but it certainly is something going on there. Why it's bottoming out, and gold still looks like garbage. I mean, it is a breakdown failure. It's because of the deep retracement. We got a bottoming tail bar. Silver leading the way, maybe. What you think? What is it communicating? What are institutions or others that focus on this, or banks, whatever, thinking? You had this little pullback in the dollar that certainly helped gold stabilize. But it's still in an uptrend. It got a little extended. Is the market message here that the dollar is near the end of its move? So gold, there's always things that are anticipated. Things begin to happen, and then we see whether they follow through or not. So look, just technically, gold being, the greater than 100% retracement, and you see it broke down through that low, and it goes a little lower, and it begins to stabilize and turn. And so now we got a bottoming tail bar, and plenty of resistance on the way down. No longer minting eagles. I need to, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But it's clearly, getting bought here today, but the market's being bought. Interest rates, the 3-month is losing momentum. You can see the pivots highs are so close together. Maybe it's ready to roll over. Maybe we're going to be surprised by all these speeches, right? We don't know until we know, but we see things that have been bearish are stalled here, and the markets are trying to hold. Maybe there's a breakdown failure, but we need more information. The 10-year pulling back here. Look at that. So that makes sense. Gold going up, interest rates pulling back, and the euro should be right attempting to move up, and it's not. And the pound, well, that's still having its relief rally after its climactic turn. So, all right, I think we'll see what progresses here over today with this ISM and these Fed speakers that are coming out. Transport's down. Their momentum stalled, small candle body. So there was on the daily chart, lots of momentum moves lower, continuation pattern setup, which, after a greater than 100% retracement and it's a second or third continuation pattern, there is the tendency for it to be a sucker setup and, creating a shock. So we'll see how that happens. Joseph, you guys like spreads such as put spread, call spread. What are the advantages over simply purchasing a call or a put option? Oh, so Joseph, with spreads, it doesn't have to move in one direction or the other. It just doesn't have to go to a certain level. If you're going to buy a call or a put, that's a directional bias. And if it doesn't move in your direction, you lose the money. With a spread, if it doesn't move, you get to keep the money. So come to MT Live on Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, read the weekend letter, Dan's saying, but I guess he's not a subscriber, Dan. Anyway, take it over, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, we had more bullish positions in the weekend letters. Actually, it's more than I expected. And because many of them are good patterns, number one, and number two, that they would only trigger if they were bullish. And number three is we were expecting this turn. I was actually looking for a turn all of last week, and I just couldn't hold it until Wednesday. And we stopped out of a couple things, but they were totally perfect setups. All right, here we did IWM actually, so that's expiring today. CVX, we were going to do this put spread here, 140, 130. Let me get it loaded up here so I can see what it is at the open. 140, 130. So yeah, closed midpoint at 131. So yeah, looks great. Over last week's high. It's a turn and a downtrend. So oil is up. OPEC's talking about the production cut, and that limits supply, increases price. That's a wonderful business to be in when you can just control your costs so easy like that. LMT, Climo put spread. There's some positive mention on that in Barron's. Valley. It's a big bottoming pattern. It's a big old mess, though. I personally just don't trade things like that unless it's a put spread. Put spread 1250. Sober, I saw going by the ticker I mean, look at this crazy move last week. Nothing to do with it now, though. BBW bear gap down. Well, I see one print there. I'm not sure if it's real, but if this is not gapping down, this is a nice bottoming pattern. You got, you got a climb out, a retest, bottoming tail, retest on volume, and a price void. So over Friday's high. Good spread idea. Look at poor Piton. Is that has to be all-time lows? Yeah. It's a bear 1, 2, 3 in a downtrend. They did a deal with Hilton, I'm gonna put a Piton in every one of their hotels, I guess. So there's XOP. We might see if we can get some day trade setups, maybe target gap fill in the 20 MA. JB Hunt, yeah, it's bearish, but I just sent a Telegram alert out saying don't take any of our short setups if they trigger, unless I look at them and approve it, because if we are getting the bounce here, I don't want something to trigger short and then have it smack in our face if the tide rises. But it's a bearish pattern, I give you that, number one. But the problem also is with the market strength, this is what we call an end of day decline. So that's not good for a day trade setup because it's so extended intraday. You're better to watch it and get a bearish setup intraday on a bounce. XPER, I just saw this going by the ticker. Oh, it must be, yeah, it has to be an IPO because it's like showing up $17 here. Or wait, that has to be Friday's bar. So now it's, I don't know what's going on here, but we'll watch it. Finger, look at this little guy. I did not notice this last week. But it's still a bullish 15-minute chart, believe it or not. But now that you're gapping up from this big bar on volume, that suggests the end is near. Now, again, I wouldn't short it because it's a bullish 15-minute chart. But gapping up after this move, I don't know what's going on with that. What was the news? Oh, Paramount. They had some new movie over the weekend, but no pattern. Laser had positive mention in Barron's, but it's kind of just eyeballing here, 50% retracement, but absolutely no bullish pattern there on the daily. XPIV had some delivery numbers. It's just a power ugly downtrend. This just amazes me how poorly many of these electric companies are doing with the green administration. So that's kind of saying that it can't survive on its own. Tesla here getting whacked with their delivery report. We had this as a call spread in the weekend letter that I canceled because the gap's too big, which means we aren't going to get filled anywhere near the desired price. And if you did, then it would be a gap negated. Apron, this is a food. They deliver you food, you cook. Profit type of warning of some sort, no pattern. Remember Credit Suisse I mentioned last Monday? I said something was brewing in this bank based on this. And now they're worried about liquidity, and the CEO telling everybody, oh no, our liquidity is totally fine. Don't no, nothing to see over here, no concerns. that just reminded me of Lehman CEO. What was his name? Dick Fold, I think. He came out on a Wednesday. I remember this clear as day because I was actively trading, and as I do now. He came out on Wednesday and said absolutely nothing wrong with our finances. The stock tanked on Friday. They were out of business on Monday. I'm like, it's just how he's either just a 1000% liar or just friggin' idiot that he didn't know what was going on under the hood. And I think it's more the former myself. Visca, I think Baron said was a competitor of Airbnb. Airbnb, so was it Thomas? We were talking about shorting something. This is a sell setup with a nice 3-bar reversal. So it's still holding the closing price. But if this cannot bounce in 30 minutes, then this is totally fine to short Friday's low because it's still a great pattern. Plus, we then have additional information of relative weakness. I'm going to put that in the window, actually. It looks so good. Airbnb. Box. All right, FSR. Box is a bullish gap here from a little retest. FSR, see, so this was a bear 1, 2, 3, so that's relative weakness. So this one's actually a go. Well, Greg, what do you think? I told him to hold off all shorts. What's your take on this in light of the market?
I'm not doing anything until 10 o'clock.
All right, so I told him to hold off, so I don't have to say anything further then.
I mean, I'm not swings. I mean, if I see something that's scalpable, that's different than, something like that.
All right. UNG. Yeah, I'm in this thing too. Let's move it under 22. Good idea, Roger. Yep, I'm in this thing too. Yeah. So let's move it. I like that a lot. EXR alarm.